Pauline Black with The Selector and On My Radio. And when Pauline co-founded the group in Coventry in 1979, she left her job in the NHS to be at the forefront of the two-tone ska revival. Little did she know that over 40 years later, she'd still be making new albums and even playing live at Wembley Stadium, as she did last weekend, supporting Blur alongside Paul Weller. The Selector released their latest album, Human Algebra, in the spring, and they completed a UK tour throughout April and May. To add to that, she was recently awarded an OBE in the King's Honours List. You can hear my chat with Pauline coming up after this, her first 70s song choice. It's a classic from Ian Dury. That's Ian Dury and the classic Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll, chosen by my 70s guest, Pauline Black. A very warm welcome, Pauline. How are you?
I'm fine, Johnnie, and thank you so much for asking me to do this. It's real fun.
You're very welcome. Now, that's a great record. That's a classic punk record, isn't it?
I just loved everything that Ian Dury did. I mean, I grew up in Romford in Essex, and I mean, he's from Upminster, and my husband is from near Southend, so he was into Ian Dury first. And so I was just listening to a lot of those records that he was playing and stuff like that. But when the Selector actually got going, we met Ian at Top of the Pops. And our bass player had just left, I think, at that time, and our keyboard player. And we were trying to record a new album, which was the Celebrate the Bullet album, our second album. And we happened to be in a lift with Ian. And he just turned around to us and said, "Oh, yeah, Pauline, yeah, well, we can help you out. I mean, Norman," this is Norman Watt-Roy, the great bassist, he'll come up, and I'll come up with him, and he'll play on your record for you." And he did.
Wow.
I mean, we thought he was just joking or something. You know, it'd be one of those things that you say over a drink in the bar at the BBC or something, but it's never going to happen. But sure enough, the following weekend, up he came.
So how did you get from Essex to Coventry?
Mostly the M1 and the M45, but I don't know. I came up here to go to university, Coventry University as it is now, but when I came it was Lanchester Polytechnic, and I came up to study combined science degree, flunked out for various reasons after a couple of years, retrained and studied radiography, and then worked for the NHS for 7 years, I think it was, and then joined a band, which was the Selector, and I don't know, became a pop star for a bit, carried on ever since.
You're rushing things now. So how do you look back on your years with the NHS as a radiographer?
Well, like I always say from a stage every time I get on one, and to big up the people who do work for the NHS while we've still got it at the moment. We weren't paid enough then, and we're not paid enough now. That's all I can say. I mean, I look back on it really, really fondly. I loved working for the NHS. I love working in hospitals. It's almost like doing a gig. What you bring, and when you're about to treat someone and do something for them, is something quite unique. And how that person experiences that, you know, usually at a time when they are at their worst and you've got to be at your best. Sometimes that's a little bit like an audience, you know. There was a purpose.
Was there a day when you went in to sort of hand in your notice and say, "I'm going to be in a band"?
Oh, goodness me, yes. I mean, it got embarrassing towards the end because it's everybody knew what I was doing. Because, I mean, to do gigs, I'd have to sort of say, "I'm really not well, you know, today," and things like this. So it got a bit of a joke. And there was somebody in the actual department who fancied themselves as a bit of a pop star as well, but wasn't having quite so much success with their band. And he knew what I was doing because he read the NME. So it was all having to be kept quiet. But actually, when it all came out and I just handed in my notice, I mean, everybody, radiologists, you know, the doctors who worked there, and us technicians as radiographers, everyone was really happy. Like, "Oh, yeah, you go off," you know.
And what about your parents? How did they react?
Well, my mum and dad weren't that thrilled because I'd been working for 7 years by then, and they thought that I was throwing all this away to, truck around the world with a bunch of rastas, as they always sort of describe the band, which couldn't really have been further from the truth. But yeah, I mean, it didn't go down tremendously well.
Well, eventually they probably were extremely proud of you.
Well, yes, my mum, right, she used to keep all the cuttings. I didn't know she did this until after she passed away. She put them in a Sainsbury's carrier bag and take them to weddings, take them to funerals, and just bore people with them. Goodness knows what they all thought, you know. This nice little old white lady, because I was adopted by this white family in Essex, and goodness knows what they thought when they saw these photos. I just don't know.
Pauline Black is our guest. So, Pauline, can you pick us another song?
Well, with everything that's been happening since Glastonbury, with the very wonderful Debbie Harry and her 78th birthday and all of those things, I'd have to pick Blondie's Heart of Glass, because anyone who can shoehorn mutual mistrust into a lyric, has it for me. Just has it for me, and I've got previous with the Dear Lady as well. You know, back in 1980, I think it was, Blondie asked us to support them at Hammersmith Palais, as it was then, and it was such a glorious gig, and we had a photo, you know, with her backstage there, and shortly after that, I was invited along to her ladies' tea party, which happened at some hotel in Sloane Street, I think it was. But anyway, there was me there, Debbie, Chrissy Hind, Viv Albertine, Susie Sue, and Polystyrene, the late, great Polystyrene. Those were tremendous times, and there's photos to prove it all. I mean, I met her more recently, probably about 10 years ago now, I guess, and this was in America somewhere. I can't remember exactly where now, but we were doing the same festival. And she was very gracious then, and I was invited into her dressing room, you know, which looked distinctly unlike mine. It was all draped in white and stuff like that. You know, mine, your sort of shoes stuck to your floor a bit. But no, she was just as gracious then. You know, she is what a pop star is supposed to be. And it doesn't matter what age she is, she will never wither.
That's Blondie and Heart of Glass, chosen by our guest Pauline Black. OBE, just to add in the letters there. So, did you have a good day at the Palace?
Oh, well, it wasn't at the Palace. It was at, what's the one? Windsor Castle, that's the one. Windsor Castle. And it was King Charles's first investiture. So it was like a first for both of us. So it was actually quite exciting in that respect. Yeah, it was just a great day. I mean, you get to wait in the Wellington room, and you feel this huge. I mean, it's just huge. I mean, there's about 4 football pitches you could probably fit in it, you know, and everyone's all standing there in their finery and stuff, looking at each other. It was tremendous. My whole family came along. And we just had a good time. And, you know, at the time when I was offered it, I thought, well, if it's good enough for Elvis Costello, it's good enough for me.
Let me try and guess a question he might have put to you. Did he ask you if you were going to go off and have a good lunch?
No, he didn't, surprisingly enough. No, I had met him, you see, about a couple of years before. No, a year before. And I sort of squired his lovely self and Camilla. We had a retrospective of the two-tone movement up here at the museum in Coventry. And they came up to see other things, but they also looked round that. So that was good fun, because, I mean, Camilla knew all the songs. She knew Ghost Town, everything, you know.
Really?
And, yeah. But he thought that ska was possibly something that was sort of a bit more soulified, you know, after disabusing him of the fact that I wasn't in 3 Degrees. We got on swimmingly.
Now, there was a great fusion between punk rock and ska that you pulled off with the Selector. And in a way, there were 2 musical styles that always had an affinity together, didn't they?
Yes, they did. I think the thing about punk was it was young working class kids could just get up and do it. You know, there was none of that sort of prog rocky kind of thing that had been going on in the early 70s, where everybody had either been to, one of the great universities. And this was much more hands-on. We can do it. This is going to be 3 chords. And that was punk. And when reggae came along, people's ears adjusted to that sound and very much got into the whole kind of Bob Marley way of, making music, which was just genius. The two things then started getting mixed up, with the Clash and various other bands, and Steel Pulse were going in Birmingham. And so it was all a huge, great melting pot. And I think those Black British kids like myself, ones who'd been born here, we'd grown up with our white counterparts, who were the same age as us, listening to the same kinds of music. So it just made sense to kind of mash it all up and see what came out the other end. And Two-Tone was one of those things.
Yeah. Now, how about another record? And I've got a list here, ones you suggested. I think it was their only hit, wasn't it? Uptown Top Ranking for Althea and Donna.
Oh, yeah, it was their only hit. And I mean, it was... I'm not really sure. I mean, it started off life as a track by Trinity, 3-piece suit. And then there was another song around Nellis song called I'm Still in Love with You, boy. That song. And they kind of fitted it together, the producer, and the girls helped write the lyrics, and they came up with something completely new. And as soon as anyone who looked like me saw them on Top of the Pops, we just thought we'd died and gone to heaven. It was like, wow, it's black people on Top of the Pops, isn't this great? And they're British, they're not American.
Now, just before we play it, a couple of things. Are you still wearing your Trilby hat quite a lot?
I am still wearing my Trilby hat quite a lot, yes.
It's sort of your look, part of your look. Can I mention the age thing?
No, I don't see any reason why not, because I intend being 69 for quite a long time.
You've had an amazing year. There's been a new album out. You've been doing lots of gigs, a tour, and an amazing gig last Sunday at Wembley Stadium, of all places, with Blur and Paul Weller.
Well, I mean, I didn't think we'd ever be playing Wembley Stadium. I mean, you get to a certain age, don't you, and think, oh, well, I can cross that one off because that's not going to happen. Yeah, I couldn't be more made up because, I mean, Blur mean a great deal to me. And, I mean, The Jam, Paul Weller, I mean, we were contemporaries at the time.
Yeah, very esteemed company. Well, congratulations on that. And all good wishes for the future.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's let's hope there's a lot of future.
Well, we've got to make it so. It's up to us. Thank you, Pauline, very much. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye, Johnny.
Pauline Black and her choice of Althea and Donna with Uptown Top Ranking and number 1 in the 70s. The Selectors' latest album, Human Algebra, is out now. They'll be back playing more dates in the summer. They'll be at Holmfirth Picture Dome in Yorkshire on the 26th of August and the day after that in Newark at the Stone Valley Festival. And a strange coincidence, I interviewed Pauline last week and then went off to Versailles to do a bit of a DJ gig alongside Jules Holland and the Rhythm and Blues Orchestra, and guest vocalists included Ruby Turner, and who did I bump into in the dressing room before the show? The one and only Pauline Black, who at the age of 70 looks very good indeed, and she sang beautifully with the band. That was my last ever sort of public DJ job. So to go out in Versailles after starting in a little pub called the Navigation Inn back in 1966, that was quite a journey. It was a great gig.